video, I want to talk about the Reconnaissance Patrol. So, I think there's a little bit of a misconception about Reconnaissance Patrols in general. So, a lot of people, when they think Recon Patrol, they think of Force Recon or whatever, where they're typically just going forward and they're giving information to hire, or like alerts in Vietnam. That's very common. A lot of people love the alerts because they were one of the first and they did some extreme stuff. However, with the fact that militaries are now being asked to do more with less, they're being required to learn more and be more capable. It's kind of shifted, and probably for the better. Makes them more lethal and more of a scary threat to deal with. That could be also something that guerrillas have to be capable of doing. So there's different types of reconnaissance. You could be tasked with special reconnaissance, which typically is conducting undercover work, or spotting different targets or whatever, or whatever. Getting a lay of the terrain through special reconnaissance and undercover work, like was done with the Regimental Recon Company for the Rangers and stuff. So, where they work with a lot of different special forces conducting special reconnaissance, because that's kind of their bread and butter, whether it's in a conventional sense or, conducting it by covert means. So then there's other types. There's other types, which is a general zone reconnaissance, area reconnaissance, route reconnaissance, and you could even have like structure reconnaissance, like bridges and stuff. So yeah, there's different types of recon that you can conduct. Now, the next thing is planning. So, in general, the good thing to do with a recon patrol, given the history of them, you should be planning to be flexible, which means that you need to be able to go from snooping and pooping to causing damage. And that means you're going to be operating on stealth and having a lot of power. So yes, you will be in small units and stuff, but just like SEAL platoon, they prepare to actually be able to transition from a reconnaissance-based mission, for the most part, when they're tasked with that, like in a jungle, to conducting, like a raid or an ambush or something like that on a target of opportunity to get more intel. So typically it'll have something to do with their original mission. So, that's something that is not really relayed all that much. Like if you're conducting an area reconnaissance, or a point reconnaissance, or not point, but a zone reconnaissance, just to check out routes, it might turn into a contact patrol, where you actually are required to, well, not required, but you're tasked with making contact with the enemy and delaying them and fixing them in position and getting them dedicated to you while reinforcements arrive, or just to harass them through ambushes or whatever, get them focused. So in general, in the planning, kind of go back to this, typically they'll say in conventional books that recon patrols are smaller in number and therefore they are lighter. Well, that's not necessarily true, especially if you're being flexible. You need to have the capability of hitting the enemy hard through ambushes or raids or something like that. Therefore, you're probably going to need some firepower for support by fire positions and stuff like that, so you might want an LMG, depending on what you want to do, or you might get by with, like, the full auto weapon like an AK or, an M4 or whatever. Something with full auto capability. So like the M27 IAR or whatever. So you got to be flexible. You got to be able to turn the switch on, because you might be the only forces that are capable of doing that. And that's something that you see with the Regimental Reconnaissance Company, the Rangers. Regimental Reconnaissance Company. So, yeah. So that's really the considerations you need to have for a recon patrol. Also, if you are compromised, you need to have a big stick with you. So, anyways, that's just a little bit of the basics of recon patrol that isn't really talked about all that much. It's not as simple as just snooping and pooping. not all the time anyways. Typically, they're going to have to do more than that, and you need to be more flexible. Probably more flexible than somebody who's just conducting an ambush patrol. So you need to be able to operate out in the field for a while and then transition over even though you're tired and stuff like that. So it can be more demanding. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and you guys have a good one.